Have you ever thought that your mood, memory, or emotions are entirely controlled by your brain? For a long time, this was considered a scientific truth, but today, science is revealing a surprising fact. Your brain is not the only command center influencing your state of mind. Inside your body, there's a second brain quietly at work, and that is the gut microbiome. Billions of bacteria living in your gut don't just help you digest food. They also send signals to your brain, regulate hormones, influence emotions, affect your ability to focus, and even determine how quickly you age. Sounds strange, but consider this: many people who have survived a stroke, Alzheimer's, or depression share a surprising commonality, an imbalance in their gut microbiome. Modern science is now uncovering a two-way communication network between the gut and the brain, a biological highway where gut bacteria can whisper to the nervous system, profoundly impacting both mental and physical health. The food you eat, the way you live, and your daily stress levels, all of these shape your gut microbiota, which in turn influences your brain. Today's video will take you on a journey, one that is both deeply scientific and refreshingly practical, to help you understand why the gut is truly the second command center of your body, and more importantly, how it holds the key to protecting your memory, your mood, and your clarity of mind from the silent assault of time. For centuries, the medical community believed that the brain was the ultimate command center responsible for regulating everything in the body, from heartbeats and emotions to digestion. The gut, by contrast, was seen merely as a subordinate machine, a processor of food, and a system for waste elimination. But modern science has begun to challenge that belief. Today, groundbreaking research, including the work of Dr. Partha Nandy, is offering a fascinating new perspective. Between the brain and the gut exists a two-way neural superhighway known as the gut-brain axis. This is a complex communication network in which the brain and gut not only talk to each other, but also influence one another in very real, measurable ways. One key player in this communication is the vagus nerve, one of the longest nerves in the body, stretching from the brainstem all the way down to the colon. It acts like a biological fiber optic cable, constantly transmitting signals back and forth between the brain and the gut. But the conversation doesn't stop there. It also involves chemical messengers like serotonin, dopamine, cytokines, and gut hormones, which together help regulate mood, behavior, and immune response. What's more remarkable is that the gut houses its own independent and highly sophisticated nervous system, called the enteric nervous system, with over 100 million neurons, roughly the same number as the spinal cord. It has rightly earned the nickname the second brain. This system not only manages digestion, but also influences feelings of hunger, fullness, comfort after eating, and even our emotional state. Have you ever noticed that when you're anxious or stressed, your stomach reacts too? Maybe with a fluttering feeling, indigestion, or even diarrhea. On the flip side, when your digestion is off, say, due to bloating or constipation, you might also feel tired, foggy, or unable to concentrate. This isn't a coincidence. It's clear evidence of the deep biological link between the gut and the brain, perhaps the most groundbreaking revelation emphasized in Heal Your Gut. Save Your Brain. Is this the communication between the gut and the brain is not one-directional? While it was once believed that the brain simply issued commands to the gut, we now know that the gut microbiome, the community of bacteria living in your gut, can send signals back to the brain, influencing behavior, memory, and even mental health. For example, beneficial gut bacteria can stimulate the production of GABA, a neurotransmitter that calms the brain, reduces anxiety, and promotes deep sleep. Some strains also help produce serotonin, a so-called happiness hormone that many people believe is made in the brain. In reality, over 90% of serotonin is synthesized in the gut. When this microbial ecosystem is in balance, you tend to feel mentally stable, cognitively sharp, and digestively smooth. But when it becomes disrupted by poor nutrition, chronic stress, or overuse of antibiotics, harmful bacteria take over. They begin producing toxic metabolites that trigger inflammation and disrupt the gut-brain connection. From there, cognitive decline, depression, anxiety, and even neurodegeneration can quietly take root. Dr. Partha Nandy calls this a silent conversation that determines the fate of your intellect. And it's a conversation that most of us don't even realize we're having, one that's silently shaped by the smallest daily choices, a rushed meal, a sleepless night, or a fiber-poor diet. Science is now confirming what once sounded speculative. If you want to protect your brain, especially as you age, start by taking care of a place that seems unrelated: your gut. We've just explored the gut-brain axis as a two-way communication system where emotions, behavior, and memory can be influenced by the microorganisms living in your gut. But the question is, has science truly confirmed this connection? The answer is yes, and not just by one, but by numerous independent studies confirming the powerful role of the gut microbiome in shaping our mental and cognitive health. In his book, Heal Your Gut, Save Your Brain, Dr. Partha Nandy compiles a wide range of scientific evidence to show that when you heal the gut, you are simultaneously protecting the brain and vice versa. One of the most prominent studies comes from the Human Microbiome Project, launched by the US National Institutes of Health, NIH. This multi-year effort analysed the gut microbiota of thousands of healthy individuals and patients across America. The findings: each person carries between 500 and 1,000 species of microbes in their gut, forming a unique biological fingerprint that profoundly affects how the body responds to illness, medication, and stress. More importantly, researchers discovered that the diversity of the microbiome, meaning the number and variety of beneficial bacteria, is closely linked to neurological health. People with low microbial diversity tend to have higher levels of inflammation and significantly greater rates of depression and cognitive decline. This isn't just theoretical. Real-world evidence is emerging from clinical research. For instance, a study published in the Journal of Stroke and Cerebrovascular Diseases showed that 25% of stroke survivors developed dementia within 1 year. Researchers traced this back and found that many of these patients had significant gut microbiota imbalances with an overgrowth of harmful bacteria and a loss of beneficial strains known to reduce inflammation and regulate neural signaling. In neurology, the connection between the microbiome and Parkinson's disease is becoming clearer. A study from the Neurological Institute of California found that 75% of Parkinson's patients develop cognitive decline within 10 years of diagnosis, and that gut microbiome shifts may be an early trigger. Subtle changes in the gut can occur years before the first neurological symptoms appear, suggesting the gut may sense the brain's decline before the brain itself shows signs. What explains this phenomenon? The answer lies in microbial metabolites, particularly short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs such as butyrate, acetate, and propionate. These aren't just energy sources for gut cells. They also reduce neuroinflammation, strengthen the blood-brain barrier, and regulate neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. When the microbiome is healthy, these beneficial compounds function optimally, but when harmful bacteria dominate, often due to low-fiber diets, overuse of antibiotics, or chronic stress, toxic byproducts like lipopolysaccharide LPS are produced in large amounts. LPS can pass through a weakened gut lining, enter the bloodstream, cross the blood-brain barrier, and trigger chronic inflammation in the brain. This invisible invader is now linked to Alzheimer's, depression, anxiety disorders, and even autism spectrum conditions in children. It's truly astonishing to realize that your daily decisions, what you eat for breakfast, how much sleep you get, whether you take a few moments to breathe, are all quietly rewriting the future of your brain. And the starting point isn't far away, it's right in your gut. In Heal Your Gut, Save Your Brain, Dr. Nandy emphasizes a powerful idea. Genetics is not destiny. Even if you carry genes that predispose you to Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, nurturing your gut microbiome can rewrite the script. Because it is your gut bacteria, not your genes, that act as the silent architects of your internal environment. Science is now giving us a remarkable opportunity to prevent and slow neurodegenerative diseases, not through medication, but through food, rest, calm, and intentional choices at every meal. If you've ever thought of the digestive system as merely a pipe that moves food from the mouth to the anus, it's time to reconsider. In his book, Heal Your Gut, Save Your Brain, Dr. Partha Nandy describes the digestive tract as a tightly regulated biological border, where every meal you consume is evaluated, sorted, and either granted or denied access by an incredibly sophisticated barrier system. At the heart of this system lies the intestinal barrier, a semi-permeable membrane whose job is to determine what gets absorbed into the bloodstream and what gets held back and eliminated. When this barrier functions well, essential nutrients like amino acids, minerals, and vitamins are properly absorbed, while fragments of bacteria, toxins, foreign proteins, and harmful chemicals are kept out. However, under conditions of chronic stress, poor diet, and prolonged use of anti-inflammatory drugs or antibiotics, this barrier can become compromised, a condition known as leaky gut. In this state, molecules that should not pass through the gut lining begin to slip into the bloodstream, tricking the immune system into thinking the body is under attack. The natural response of the body is to send inflammatory signals, an appropriate reaction to real infections. But when this leakage happens continuously, inflammation becomes chronic. Alarmingly, these inflammatory molecules can cross the blood-brain barrier, the final line of defense protecting the central nervous system from toxins. Once the blood-brain barrier is compromised, the brain becomes besieged by inflammatory cytokines. Neurons become overloaded, neurotransmission is disrupted, and areas responsible for memory, learning, and emotional regulation start to underperform. This is the biological basis of brain fog, a condition many describe as feeling mentally heavy, slow, or no longer mentally sharp. Meanwhile, right along the intestinal wall resides 70% of the body's immune system in the form of lymphocytes, macrophages, and gut-associated lymphoid tissue. When the gut barrier is weak, the entire immune system enters a state of high alert, much like a confused border guard attacking both friend and foe. The result, a cascade of immune-related conditions from arthritis, allergies, and Crohn's disease to psychological disorders like depression, anxiety, and even Alzheimer's. Dr. Nandy also highlights the powerful role of microbial metabolites, especially short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs such as butyrate. Butyrate is the main energy source for the cells lining the gut wall and acts as a potent anti-inflammatory agent. It helps maintain the tight junctions between intestinal cells, protecting the barrier from becoming leaky. Interestingly, the production of butyrate doesn't come from medication, It comes from prebiotic fiber found in whole foods, oats, green bananas, garlic, onions, and vegetables. When you eat fiber-rich foods, beneficial gut bacteria feast, ferment those fibers, and produce SCFAs that nourish and reinforce the intestinal wall, forming your frontline defense against neuroinflammation. Like any sensitive border, the gut requires coordinated collaboration between its three core systems: the immune system soldiers, the nervous system communication network, and the microbiome citizens. When any one of these components falls out of balance, the whole system becomes unstable, leading to chronic diseases we often mistake as age-related or genetic. Modern science is telling us something revolutionary. Alzheimer's may not begin in the brain, it may begin in the gut. Depression isn't always psychological. It may be the first whisper of hidden inflammation. Dr. Nandy doesn't call us to worry, he calls us to act early. And the first step, he says, is to understand the true role of the gut barrier and immune system in protecting the brain. When you care for your gut, you're strengthening your immunity, calming inflammation, and guarding the brain's defenses from the silent assaults of time. It all begins with what you eat, what you think, and how you rest, a chain of small decisions that ultimately determines the lifespan of your mental clarity. One of the most dangerous aspects of gut-brain axis dysfunction is not how quickly it develops, but how slowly and silently it progresses, often going unnoticed. Heal your gut, save your brain. Dr. Partha Nandy emphasizes again and again the first signs are not diseases. They are signals. And if you know how to listen, you can intervene early, long before things get out of control. Imagine someone living a perfectly normal life, working, socializing, functioning, but slowly, they begin to notice that it's harder to focus. They forget small details or feel strangely fatigued after meals. These symptoms are often dismissed as stress, aging, or lack of motivation, but in reality, they might be early warning signs that the gut-brain axis is in distress. Cognitive symptoms may include brain fog, a sense of mental cloudiness, lack of clarity, or sluggish thinking, short-term memory loss, forgetting names of people recently met, losing track of conversations, walking into a room and forgetting why, difficulty, concentrating easily distracted, reading without retaining, poor productivity, mood changes, irritability, loss of interest in work or hobbies once enjoyed. These aren't signs of mental illness or premature aging. They're biological warnings that the communication between your gut and brain is breaking down, often due to chronic inflammation, microbiome imbalance, or a leaky intestinal barrier. Physical symptoms may include unusual fatigue after meals, as if energy has been drained, chronic digestive issues, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, or new food intolerances, poor sleep quality, frequent waking, light sleep, or waking up with a heavy head, unexplained aches and pains, particularly in the back, shoulders, or muscles, even without physical exertion. According to Dr. Nandy, many patients arrive with these symptoms, yet standard lab results show everything as normal, and that's precisely the problem. Conventional medicine often overlooks the link between silent inflammation in the gut and neurological symptoms, leaving many labeled with vague diagnoses like anxiety, psychosomatic, or worse, ignored altogether. A key insight in the book is this: each person has a unique microbial response threshold. This explains why two people eating the same food in the same environment may react completely differently. Your gut microbiome is like a biological fingerprint, and it determines how you respond to stress, food, and your surroundings. That's also why early detection through body awareness is so important. You don't need to wait for a disease to be diagnosed. You just need to notice the small shifts. Your mind feels duller than usual. Your sleep no longer refreshes you. Your gut pushes back when you eat something you used to tolerate just fine. These seemingly minor signs may be your microbiome's first whisper that something is out of balance. Dr. Nandy also offers a practical suggestion in the book. Keep a feeling log after meals. Ask yourself, within 1 to 2 hours of eating, do you feel unusually sleepy? Is your stomach bloated? Has your mood dipped? Does your brain feel foggy? If so, the issue may not be the food itself, but how your gut is responding to it. We're taught to remember deadlines and organize our schedules, but rarely are we taught how to read our own bodies. And that, Dr. Nandy believes, is what needs to change. Because, as he puts it, the body whispers before it screams, and the gut, more often than not, is where those first whispers begin. Imagine this. Every meal you eat is not just feeding you. It's feeding billions of tiny organisms living inside you. They are your gut bacteria, and you are the chef who decides the fate of this entire ecosystem. According to Dr. Partha Nandy in his book, Heal Your Gut, Save Your Brain. Your gut is the place where you can take action every single day to slow down cognitive decline and fight against the silent progression of neurodegeneration. So what can we do? First, feed the good bacteria, the food they love, and no, it's not sugar or sweets, it's natural fiber, found in green bananas, whole oats, garlic, onions, asparagus, fresh vegetables and legumes. These don't just aid digestion, they nourish the bacteria that produce butyrate, a powerful anti-inflammatory compound that protects both the gut lining and the blood-brain barrier. Second, add probiotics, natural fermented foods like plain yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, miso, natto, kefir. These foods help repopulate your gut with beneficial microbes, especially when your microbiome has been damaged by stress, medication, or poor diet. Third, cut back on inflammatory foods. That means reducing refined sugar, industrial cooking oils, ultra-processed foods, alcohol and sugary sodas. Dr. Nandy's guideline is simple. Keep processed foods under 20% of your daily calorie intake. Fourth, commit to cooking at home. Minimize eating out once or twice a week is enough. When you cook for yourself, you control the oils, the salt, the seasoning, the heat, and more importantly, you take control of your mental health. Fifth, don't let stress rule your microbiome. Chronic stress doesn't just exhaust you, it kills off good bacteria, weakens the gut wall, triggers chronic inflammation, and impacts your memory and emotions. Start small. Breathe deeply for 5 minutes every morning. Walk outdoors regularly. Write a few lines in a journal before bed. Sleep 7 to 8 hours at consistent times. In sync with your body's rhythm, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Finally, move. Just 30 minutes a day. Walking, biking, yoga. No need for high intensity, just keep it steady. Because movement doesn't just strengthen your heart, it makes your gut healthier and your brain brighter. Remember, you can't heal your gut in a single meal, but you can rebuild it day by day through small intentional choices. As Dr. Nandy says, treat every meal as an opportunity to protect the future of your mind, and it all starts in the kitchen. You've just been on a journey, not a journey through time, but a journey deep inside your own body where the gut and the brain are no longer separate, and where intelligence and digestion are no longer independent. So, what have we learned? That every thought, every emotion, every night of sleep, And every meal leaves an imprint on the living microorganisms inside you, and in turn they influence your memory, clarity, emotions, and even the lifespan of your brain. You don't need to wait until you're diagnosed with Alzheimer's. You don't need to wait until you're burned out to think about recovery. Prevention doesn't begin in the hospital. It begins with the small things you do every single day. Remember, a healthy meal is a love letter to your future. A good night's sleep is your brain's way of cleaning itself. A moment without stress is a moment your gut gets to heal. And one decision today could reshape the way you age for the next 20 years. If you found this video helpful, please share it with someone you care about, a friend, a loved one, because this may be the moment they realize everything starts from within. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, where you'll always find trustworthy insights, scientific perspectives, and practical tools to live a life of strength, not just in body, but in mind. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. See you in the next video.